Hello and welcome to CEO.ca's coverage live from Beaver Creek 2024. I'm excited to kick things off today with John Proust, CEO of Japan Gold. John, great to have you on today.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
So, gold, it's been above 2,500 consistently. The mood is positive, I think, at Beaver Creek. We would love to hear a little bit about the backstory of Japan Gold, maybe that 30-second elevator pitch.
Certainly. We're glad to be here at Beaver Creek. It's been many years that we've been coming to Beaver Creek and engaging with our colleagues here. Japan Gold is a relatively new story. We were formed in 2012 based on a change in the Mining Act in Japan that allowed for the first time in Japan's history a foreign company to come in and to hold prospecting rights, mining rights, or to own mines. And we were the first group in the world to go to Japan based on that change in the Mining Act. Since then, we've accomplished a number of really important things. We've been able to review a number of closed gold mines that were closed in 1943 by a government moratorium during the Second World War and have not reopened since. So we've been able to really review those carefully and compare those to the only operating gold mine in Japan today, which is the Hishikari gold mine, a Sumitomo metal mining asset. It's one of the highest grade tier 1 gold mines operating in the world today.
Okay.
We were also able to help the government design a permitting process to allow them to grant permits to new entrants like ourselves. And then based on that, we were able to use our first mover advantage to move into the gold provinces of Japan and put together an incredible portfolio of the very best prospects across the country. That portfolio has really attracted the interest of the major international mining community.
Yeah,
we have Goldcorp as a significant investor, and then we have a countrywide or a strategic alliance with Barrick Gold Corporation that I'm happy to talk about more later. And that's basically advancing our business throughout the country now. So we're in a really great spot.
No, excellent. It's a very interesting story and quite unique. As you say, you have that first mover advantage in Japan. Let's talk a little bit more about Japan as a mining jurisdiction. You mentioned that you're working with the government to help develop some of these codes. I imagine obviously there's that huge upside in terms of getting the kind of first dibs on some of these projects that maybe weren't available for a long period of time with that change in the mining code. Can you tell us maybe what it's like to operate there as an explorer?
Right. Yeah. Well, interesting, being the first mover back into Japan and in a country that was really had closed the gold exploration industry, we've had to do a number of important things. The good news is by being invited by the government to come to Japan to restart the industries and stimulate the economies in the areas where those closed gold mines were located. That's a great place to start, where you've got the government support to come in.
Yes.
That's also allowed us to go in and educate a number of other stakeholders, the provincial or prefectural governments, the local governments, the town councils, and to bring the population up to speed that this endowment exists in Japan.
Interesting.
And it's time for us to restart it and to make those new discoveries that are going to be plentiful, we think, in Japan.
Yeah, I guess there's a whole kind of education aspect when it comes to the local communities that might not be familiar with mining. So I guess first mover advantage, but it's been 12 years since that change in the mining rules. Have you seen any other competitors spring up in that time period?
Yeah, certainly after we entered into Japan, we kept it quite quiet as we were becoming established there.
Yeah.
And of course, the large companies, as I mentioned, really started to take a look at Japan. And that's because geopolitical safety, geopolitics is such an important aspect of mining globally today.
Yeah.
Underexplored areas, and probably Japan's vastly underexplored, but with a rich history of high-grade gold mining. So that stimulated the majors coming in. Juniors started to follow about 4.5 years after we were in country. The first junior came in. There's been a second junior that's come as well. But and this is not wanting to inflate our status there, but we did take the first mover advantage. So they picked up smaller areas and have had some success. They've moved some things along, but it's really been fairly minor relative to the scale that we've taken on Japan.
Yeah, so let's talk about that scale. You recently trimmed down from, I believe it was 35 to 26 projects. Can you walk us through maybe your strategy when it comes to acquiring these projects? I know you focus on high-grade epithermal systems.
Yes.
And maybe what led you to cutting those 9 projects out? Do you have any spending commitments on the remaining projects?
Sure. All good questions. So in terms of the criteria for selecting our projects, we decided to focus our efforts on low sulfidation epithermal gold opportunities, similar to the Hishikari gold mine. And so we've got a great analog there of a 13 million ounce ore body result and produced 8.5 million ounces. We want to emulate that if we can throughout Canada. So we went, and then we also had that history of the other closed gold mines that exist. So under a number of our project areas are closed gold mines that have not reopened since 1943. So the next place to make a new gold discovery is next to a whole gold mine within the shadow of the head frame. So we've been doing that as well. More recently, we brought on board a new president and chief operating officer, Fraser McCoy. And Fraser joined us 6 months ago, and he came to us from Newcrest, where he was the head of global exploration for Newcrest. Okay. Fraser had been in Japan several times through Newcrest and through his own involvement, but also was one of the competitors with Newcrest that looked at becoming a partner with us in 2020 when we selected Barrick as the ultimate partner. Okay. And so he had good familiarity with our portfolio. And so bringing Fraser on board, he's really done a number of important things. He's been able to take a vast amount of data that we've assembled in the last 12 years and really start to organize that data for discovery. So that's number one. Number two is that he's really helped define what is our target in Japan. And so by doing that, by identifying what our targets are, then we can carefully look back at our portfolio and go, some of these are just not for us. They're interesting, but maybe too small, maybe in the wrong setting. They're not for us. So that's what led to our announcement yesterday, reducing the portfolio from 35 to 26. And that focus is really an important piece for us in terms of now bringing the right people to the table. Yeah. And so again, just to expand on Fraser's role, he's now bringing together a number of global experts in epithermal deposits, in geophysics, in geology, in making discoveries, so that we can now look at our trimmed down portfolio with our data set, fully engaged, and make those targeting decisions.
Okay, excellent. I want to circle back a little bit on the Barrick Alliance, and you touched on. Walk us through the details of that partnership.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. I do want to just touch on the fact you said, what are our commitments to be to the ground? Yeah. Great commitment. And that's a really important question, that's overlooked by many investors, which is you have this vast portfolio, which in our trimmed down portion is about 2,500 square kilometers. So it's a big portfolio. The question is, what does it cost you to hold that, and what commitments come along with that? So because Japan is really focused on really making discoveries and building new mines to employ Japanese people, etc., the carrying costs are minimal. So our carrying costs for that current portfolio last year were less than $100,000, which is ridiculously small. In terms of commitments to those projects, there are no commitments to those projects. Basically, we present a business plan that is how we're going to advance and how to each project portfolio, and then we carry out those plans. But there's no fixed spending commitments either.
And so I guess that further re-entrenches that first mover advantage. Absolutely, take on these projects without significant spending commitment.
And I think investors scratch their head when they saw us expanding our portfolio so dramatically. Yeah. So maybe they're comparing us to Finland, to other jurisdictions that are advancing basically now, where there's $250 dollars that you have to pay every year for the privilege of holding those exploration rights. So that's not something that we have. So I just wanted to touch on.
No, it's very interesting. It's story.
But happy to elaborate on Barrick.
Yeah. Let's learn more about that.
So I think we have an excellent arrangement with Barrick. because Barrick basically is milestone driven. So starting in 2020, Barrick evaluated the vast majority of our project portfolio, sort of screening it for settings that they felt they would find tier 1 or tier 2 ore body. So a 5 million ounce or greater or 3 million ounce or greater ore body with a big production profile. Ultimately, they selected 6 projects that they felt had that portfolio, but adding more technical views to that set, they decided to trim that down to 3, that they are focused on 3 projects now. Now, the way it works is that Barrick owns no interest in those 3 projects until they complete a pre-feasibility study at their cost. Then they get 51% ownership. When they carry us to the bankable feasibility, then they get a 75% stake in the project. So we keep a 25% stake in a project, and then we'd be going forward jointly to fund the funding of a mine. And so that's a wonderful position for us to be in.
Yeah.
And Barrick puts an enormous amount of focus. We have a technical team. We have our management committee with them as well. And we right up to their top executive committee in Barrick, right to Mark Bristow, et cetera. There's a lot of focus on Japan and anti-dumping. We'll see our ability there.
Be fantastic. And I guess coming from them really de-risk some of these projects as well.
Well, it really de-risks the projects for several reasons. One is that they can go anywhere in the world. But by focusing in on Japan and these projects, there's obviously something special there. Yeah. Secondly, Barrick recognizes that there's a unique opportunity in Japan where if we're to put a mine into production, and it's a low sulfidation, epithermal setting, we can mine that ore and only just do a light crushing program on site, because that ore can basically be delivered right to a smelter. And there's a number of smelters that are looking for that type of ore to come to the smelter because they really value the host rock, which is silica or quartz, as flux in the smelting process, and they can stream off the gold. So that's what Hishikari does now. And so the all-in sustaining costs at Hishikari are approximately $500 an ounce in a global setting where $1,500 is not unreasonable for an all-in sustaining cost.
Yeah.
So that same opportunity is available to Japan Gold and Barrick recognizes that. So that really influences their view of economics of projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that infrastructure line, this great reasons wholesale. That's another interesting component of the story. Just to wrap up, you're looking ahead. You have this trimmed down portfolio.
Yes.
A new president. Can you tell us, what can people expect over the next 6 to 12 months?
Absolutely. As early as this week, so I mentioned that Barrick has 3 projects that we are focused on.
Yeah.
Our programs are all about drilling. So starting this Friday, we'll be drilling the first project. And once we've completed that project, we're hoping in the last November, December of this year to be starting our second project drilling.
Yeah.
The third one will be in the first quarter, drilling with Barrick as well. So there's going to be an awful lot of news and projects that have had enormous amount of work and attention by the Japan Gold team, my Barrick team as well, and that we've decided to settle in on these targets. So that's really exciting. From the Japan Gold portfolio perspective, under Fraser Corkadale's leadership, and with the other excellent international views of experts, of some people matter experts, along with our team, we're advancing our portfolio as well, all about drilling and drill targeting. So we think 2025 is going to be a fantastic.
John, thanks so much for that overview. I'm going to talk a little bit about the cap table. Can you tell us who some key shareholders are?
Certainly. Japan Gold has a very unique share structure. Most junior companies are hopeful they have an institutional investor or would like to have an institutional investor. But we have such a unique offering, yet for the last 4 years, we've been engaged in interfacing with some of the largest institutions in the world.
Yeah.
And that's now translated into a 60% ownership stake. So institutions own 60% of the shares of Japan Gold today. And these are some of the largest institutions in the world, like BlackRock and Resource Capital Funds from Denver, Rothschilds, and there's a list of 12. And so those groups are there because they feel that they would like to be part of the story going forward. They take in total positions. They're hoping to be there for the larger dollar requirements when we go to build mines to Sherrick or Newmont or others. And so it's an important piece. In addition to that, Newmont owns 9%. And management owns 6%. So 75% of Japan's shares are held within very knowledgeable groups that are very focused on the long-term, aspect of this business and building mines.
Great. Well, exciting times ahead for Japan Gold. Looking forward to hearing all of those true updates. John, thanks a lot for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Nice to speak to you. Bye. Thanks for being here.